You wake up every day, and I used to tell, when I had all my Subway stores, I used to tell my staff, I say, look, you don't work like garbage every day and then just turn on a light switch and say, okay, I'm great today, right? And then you consistently work like that the rest of your life. It doesn't work that way. When you adapt traits and skills in your life, a lot of times those become an image of who you are, and then you justify who you are based on the world around you, whether it's good or bad, it doesn't matter. And I used to tell people, that anybody can justify anything in life, because like there's murderers that kill people and they justify that what they did was either was right or okay. So if someone can do that and justify it, when you start telling and selling your mind on certain things, you start believing your own bullshit a lot of the times. And so it's cool because my son got a job, and it was an accident that he got this job. And was it really an accident? So I sit back and I go, was it really an accident? And he's just a hard worker. He comes from a family where it's kind of hard to come out of our family and not be a hard worker. My wife's a hard worker. She comes from a family of hard workers, and then she's married to me. We've been together for over 20 years. So for God's sakes, you can't be with me and not work hard. I come from a long line of hardworking people, but it's also working smart, right? So you don't just work hard, because there's people all over the world that work hard. Construction workers work hard. The people that built this house work hard. The people that are outside maintaining the yard, they work hard, but they don't work as smart as people that get it together up here. And so my son has been in football. He's been doing private lessons. We've had him in gymnastics since he was 3. My daughter, same thing, and they're hard workers. Any of the kids that go to gymnastics with them are hard workers. Why? Because they've done over 30 hours a week of gymnastics since they were little tiny kids. And so the goal really is, okay, how do you take this child and you work them so hard as a child that everything else in life seems simple or easy? And one of the big things is that when you put them in a regimen where they have school, they have athletics, and then they have other stuff, and they're doing 60 hours a week of stuff, everything else in life seems simple because they've already done it as a child and you've instilled it in them. So going back to what I was talking about with the Subway stores, it's hard because there's a lot of parents that don't do that, and there's a lot of people that don't. I'm not going to tell you that my way is the only way or the right way, but I believe in my way, and my way works for sure. Because we will work so hard as kids that everything in life, in sports, at home, there was expectations, and we will work so hard as kids that there was expectations out of us. And so when I got into the working world and I left home, I remember everybody saying, "Oh my God, when you leave home, it's going to be hard because you got to pay your own electric bill, your own water bill, you have utilities, you got bills, you got rent." And I remember walking out the door and I moved out, and I remember being nervous, thinking about all this stuff. And the first month went by, the second month went by, the third month went by. And I was sitting back thinking, this isn't that hard, And it never has been. Even when I was going through the lowest lows in my life, when I was trying to make my business work, didn't have money, was in debt, and was just trying to make things happen, even at that time, making a living wasn't that hard. And yes, I had to sleep on people's couches, and yes, I had to bum a floor off of people sometimes when I moved from city to city for a few weeks or whatever it was, or until I got my next commission check or whatever it was that I was going through in that moment. But it never was really that hard. And so what happens is with kids, you put your kids in sports. And at the Subway store, it got to a point where it got so bad hiring people, and I got so frustrated, I said, okay, we're putting parameters on this. Here's our parameters. We're bringing in young kids. And the best kids, if I took a collective effort of all our stores, all our employees, and everybody that's working for us, I sat back and said, okay, the best employees are the ones that have the most responsibilities. And it was funny. There was a young man, I remember, who worked for us, and he was working almost full-time. Then he was going to college full-time. Then he took band. He was on the band full-time. And so He had to travel with the sports and athletic department. They had their own stuff going on. And he was just always good. And then there was another young lady who played soccer. She was in high school. She was getting straight A's. She went to one of the elite private schools in town. And then there was another young girl exactly like her that was in student senate and some other stuff. And I sat back and I said, okay, managers, here's what we're doing. From now on, anytime that someone applies for a job that's a student, that's in college, that's in high school, we don't hire them unless unless they're working, they're doing school, and they're doing something else. And that was the requirements. They had to be busy always, because what we found is if they were busy always, that they would go in and they would be better employees, hands down. And so we set that parameter, and hence it helped out all our stores tremendously. Our success rate of people that were successful as employees down the entire stretch of everything we were doing, hands down, was significantly better. Just because we had people that cared, people that were busy, people that were structured. And so we got the best, the more elite employees in that arena. You know, not that everybody is elite yet. They're still trying to thrive to find out who they are, but in that arena. And so with my son, he kind of got this job accidentally, you know, where he was going. And what we're trying to teach him now is the discipline about managing money and working hard, but being consistent at it. So he went, and it was like a volunteer thing. It was like, hey, can Jacob come and help us from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., just run the sidelines on the football fields? And we said yes, and we weren't expecting payment. He wasn't expecting payment. We don't do that. And I used to tell my niece when she was in college, I said, look, I said, when you go out and you're working for a law firm, when she was in law school down at Pepperdine, I said, get a job working for a law firm. And I used to tell my godson the same thing. And I say, hey, you're going into computer science, go get a job. Or at first he was electrical engineer, and I said, go get a job. And I set him up for jobs, and he wouldn't show up, he wouldn't do it. So he graduated with lack of experience. It took him a little bit of time to find a job because he had no experience. My niece, on the other hand, told her, hey, go out and get a job even if you're scrubbing toilets at a law firm. And don't expect anything from people. People expect too damn much. People want to get paid before they produce. And the problem is, go out and produce and you'll get paid. And the reason I believe in that is because in the world of entrepreneurship and business, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't produce, you make no money. You know, in fact, you have to produce and produce and produce and produce and produce and produce for an extended amount of time. And then finally, if you figure out your deal as an entrepreneur, finally, you'll get paid. And so to me, going out when you're starting off in the corporate world or in your career or whatever it is, I tell people, don't expect a lot from your employer. Go out and you produce a lot on their behalf, and you become so good that they don't want to ever lose you, because good workers are a rare commodity. There's not enough of them out there. Most people are lazy. And so if you can go out and, in spite of what's happening, be better than other people just because you've set a higher expectation, you'll do well. So I told my son, I said, look, you know, he went out there and he loves the sport of football. And he's been doing private lessons for years, and it's just a game he loves. He loves it more than gymnastics. He loves it more than anything that he's doing. So I told him, look, just go out there and you be respectful. You listen, you model. You know, you're out there for a reason. And we weren't expecting it to be like a job where he's getting paid. We're just teaching him discipline skills on how to become a leader. I said, look, be a leader. Set example, lead by example. And he went out there and he did such a great job. They go, you know, he has to come back. We want to hire him on. He wasn't even old enough for a worker's permit, but they're still going to bring him on because of the fact that he went out there and worked so hard. So I told him, okay, Jacob, here's the thing. You had one good day. One good day doesn't depict the future. So don't live in today. Next week, you have to do exactly what you did last week. Because what happens with people is they start off doing really good, and then they taper. They taper down. I say, look, you stay consistent. If this is how you presented yourself, that's how you present yourself always, always. That way, if you do really, in real life, have a bad day, you have one bad day out of 100 good days. And that's the way life should really work. And so at the age of 13, about to turn 14, he gets offered a job for just shy of $20 an hour, where there's people out there that are struggling in professional careers that aren't making that. And it's because of the work ethic and the discipline that we've instilled in him as a kid, I believe. and then he's good and respectful too, and he's good and he's good at what he does. He's hardworking, but he pays attention. And so, ladies and gentlemen, the reason I talk about this is because there's so many people that are out there looking and following us in their path to find their mana of what they are going to do in the industry of real estate or business. And I sit back and say, look, it's not, when you're looking for real estate, when you're looking at business, it's what you do always that makes the difference on what happens long term. So people see 2 or 3, 4 incredible deals that we finally get on our books. We have, right now we have just shy of $60 million on the books for 2021. And people sit back and they go, oh, wow, you're batting at a different level, Jerome. Going, my God, I've been working my ass off for the last few years to hit this benchmark, right? And the goal is $100 million this year. Will we get there? We're gonna try as hard as we can. But sometimes you shop, and there's not enough there, and you shop, and there's not enough there. And then all of a sudden, just boom, boom, boom. 100 deals go by, and 2 of them come into fruition. 200 deals go by, and 5 of them come into fruition. And so, ladies and gentlemen, it's the consistency of everything that we do on a regular basis that makes what we do work so well. So if we're playing at a different level, it's because we've played at a higher level, not starting yesterday, not starting today. It wasn't just a pivot where we snap our fingers. It was a goal that we set years ago, and we've been working towards for many, many moons and many, many years. And the thing is that people just like you can do the exact same thing, because I'll tell you that there was a day and time that I was sitting down, laying on someone's floor, sleeping on the floor, wondering how I was going to find a place to sleep tomorrow, and what type of food I was going to put in my stomach, and if I was going to be able to pay the rent on my office, to keep it open. And it was a struggle. And through all of those struggles, through everything that happened, through the FTC shutting down our network marketing company in 1997, and the sky blowing up, and us going from making 6 figures to 0 overnight and having to pick up the pieces and figure life out, I sit here. And the reason I sit here is because my diligence and persistence in never giving up and continuing through the push in spite of what happens in life. But it's a commitment of being great at everything I do. And am I the best at everything? No. I'll be the first to tell you that I'm not the best at everything. In fact, I'm a slow learner, and it takes me forever to learn things. But when I learn it and I figure it out, watch out, because I'm like a freight train, and I'll plow people over and push through people, and we will go and we will succeed at everything we do. But it takes me a while to warm up to that. And so, ladies and gentlemen, if you're a slow learner and it takes you a while to warm up to success, well, guess what? Join the club, because I'm part of that club. But I still sit here today, and I'm still not where I want to be, and I'm still not satisfied at where we're at. Not on a financial level, but on a life level, because I sit back and say, okay, there's so much more. If I could do this, then why can't I do that? And if they're doing that, I know I'm as talented as them. I know I'm as good as them. In fact, I know that in many aspects I'm better than them. So if I can go in and do this, and they're there, I can do that too. Because if God truly made us equal, why can they do it and I can't? And the answer is, I can. I just have to push to that. And you can too. And the biggest thing is, you have to make the move, you got to be persistent, and you got to work through it without quitting. And ladies and gentlemen, it's not a light switch. You don't flick on a switch and say, I'm going to be great today. You start with daily habits, and everything that you do as it grows and you move through life, you sit back and it evolves. And as it evolves, opportunities and doors open for you, just like they did for my son. Now, does that mean it's going to continue for him the rest of his life? Only if he continues to be as great and as dedicated to what he's doing as he is today. And that's the only way. And that's what I tell him. Just because this was offered to you today doesn't give you the option, doesn't give you the benefit of having that offered to you tomorrow if you land up sucking after today. You have to be great at what you do always. And ladies and gentlemen, when you can do that, that's when you'll succeed to levels that are beyond your expectations.